Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Indie Choice Picks. Today I am interviewing the creator of Samurai 2100. This creator, his name is Nick. He has taken feudal Japan elements with elemental power wielding samurai with 2100, that's the year, Detroit. So you're mixing those two elements together. It's actually really cool. Some of the mythologies that I read in issue one was kind of hinted at, and I like that aspect. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about the book. I'm going to let the creator sit here and talk to you about his book. So without further ado, here's the creator of Samurai 2100. His name is Nick. You guys enjoy. Hi, Nick. How are you doing today, my man?
Fine and dandy, like sour candy.
I like it, man. I think we met on was it Reddit when I interviewed you for the magazine when we first started talking. I'm the same
I
guy.
believe so. Yeah, I think we've had some interaction before. Yeah.
Yeah. And I read your first chapter and it was really intriguing. The art is pretty unique. Yeah, there it is right there. Pretty cool stuff. So I'm gonna
hmm
hand the mic over to you. Tell the audience about you and your story. Let them know who you are. Go for it.
So my name is Nick Gibson. I am the owner and operator of the Phoenix Press, which is this little doohickey in the corner.
Nice.
And I have published two comics so far. One was Project Access. That one's stalled at the moment, and the other one is Turned Samurai, which the first issue is right here, and it's all it's bagged and boarded glory. And first issue kind of was off to a slow start. I did an Indiegogo for it. I got a little bungled, but I managed to get the book done, and I've sold out of I've pretty much sold out of my initial run of 150 copies of it. So I'm probably going to do a second print run at some point. So really good. Actually, I did a convention a few weeks ago, and I sold like 75 comics.
Awesome, man. Congratulations. How was that experience?
The word I would probably use is exhilarating. It felt really nice to really see people respond that way. Because like you could say like, oh, it's because he's a good salesman, good product. I like to say it's kind of a combination of the two. Like, sure, I'm decently good at selling people to people at conventions, but like if the product was utter crap, it would be a lot
Mhm.
harder to sell, and I wouldn't sell as many copies.
Right. Yeah, I get that a lot. I had a quote, and they call it bestseller for a reason. So if you
Mhm.
don't have quality writing or quality art in your book, it's not going to sell. But if you sell it, it's a bestseller. You know what I mean? It's never anything that's like best written or like best art or anything like that. It's all about how well you can sell a product.
Yeah, it's the best seller. It's not the
Right.
best writing. Yeah, like you're saying. I get that. Yeah.
Right. So you did your first. When was this Comic Con? Where was it actually?
It wasn't my first one. I've done a couple of them, but this one was here in Warren, Michigan. I'm from the southeastern Michigan area.
Okay, and that how big was it? Did people turn out? Because I know Comic Cons are coming back in style since the whole lockdown COVID
Uh,
pandemic.
well, he
So
sold 75 comics, so at least 75 people showed up.
so wait, did you buy 75 comics and then sold out of 75, or did you stock up more than that?
Well, it's just about the print run I made. I did a print run of 150 of the regular edition, and then 25 of my special edition cover variant, and then 25 sketch covers. I still have like a few of each kind of scattered around, but I pretty much sold out of all of them.
Awesome. That sounds like fun, man. I'm actually going to be doing my first one in a long time, at the Las Vegas Comic Con, and I'll be
Oh,
releasing one of my
nice.
books. So I'm excited for it. I'm a little
Mhm.
nervous, but I still have a lot of work to
You're
do.
gonna do great. Trust me, you're gonna do great.
Thank
It's
you.
Las Vegas. I'm you seem like a good guy, so I assume you got a good product. You're gonna sell gangbusters, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So let's jump into your story. Tell the audience what can we expect from 2100 Samurai.
So right now I'm going into issue two, but in issue one, we had the samurai named Kiro. It's this fellow right here,
Right.
and he's from kind of like a fiction fantasy region of Japan called Songor, where they're like elemental samurai, where they have like powers for the elements. Kiro is a Songor samurai of Earth, so he can kind of do like Earth kind of attacks kind of thing.
Right.
Um, and one day a portal opens up in their village. And so him and his fiance Nishi, they go into the portal, and it alters them a little bit, and it dumps them out in the cyberpunk future of 2100, a dystopian Detroit.
Ooh, okay. So they went from feudal Japan to United States 2100. That's interesting. What
Well,
came up?
at least land wise, time wise, that's what I'm making you believe. Wink,
Oh, okay.
wink. Yeah, that I'm giving a little bit too much away, but you get the idea.
Well, I
There's
read your
that future plot threads.
right. I read your first issue, and I don't want to kind of get into some of the details of it because I don't know what's spoiler or what's not since I've already read it. So I'm just going
I
to keep
mean,
it.
to be perfectly honest, the book came out a year ago, and I'm doing issue 2, so I'm not as guarded of spoilers. So, so basically, some stuff happens. Kiro and Mishi get into a fight with some people who were seemingly waiting for them,
Right.
and Mishi dies, and Kiro runs off to find them, but they disappear, and he runs into this woman named Tyler. And when they go back for her body, she's gone.
She's gone. Yeah, I remember reading that. So that kind of left me on a cliffhanger. And I think if I remember correctly, after I finished reading, I asked, "Do you have issue 2?" I'm kind of interested in what's going to happen. But I think at the time you were still working on it.
Yeah, so issue 2 is done. The cover is done by a former Marvel artist named Arvell Jones.
Cool.
Really great guy, and it came out amazing. Like seriously, I'll send you the cover and whatnot. You can look at it. Actually, I can send you a preview of issue 2 since you've been so cool.
That sounds like fun. Thank you.
Yeah, issue 2 pretty much takes place right where issue 1 left off, like and it kind of goes from there. I view issues 1 and 2 as kind of like like a 2-part pilot for a TV show.
Yeah.
And then basically by the end of issue 2, the status quo is settled in, and then we go from there.
Sounds like an interesting little setup you got there. How many issues are you planning on running for the entire, let's say, however long your story is? How many issues are you think about planning
well,
on?
This
writing?
I kind of have it set up to run semi-indefinitely. Right now, I have 5 issues planned for volume 1,
Okay.
and the volume 1 is called The Samurai in Neo Detroit. Pretty self-explanatory. The Neo Detroit part is kind of an homage to Neo Gotham from Batman Beyond, because Batman Beyond is kind of a partial inspiration for this book. And basically, it's kind of like Kiro getting settled in, but it's also about Tyler, because Tyler kind of becomes an apprentice to Kiro, and it's kind of like partway through the volume, it also Tyler starts to get more and more of gets more and more of a prominent role. It's like her basically rising to become a full-fledged apprentice by the end of volume 1.
Cool. So you ran an Indiegogo for the first one. How did that work out for you? You said you had little hiccups. How did the marketing and preparations go for you?
That one, it didn't go as well as it did. The marketing really wasn't the best. I didn't really know as much then. I was kind of, earlier, this is in 2020, I did a Kickstarter for Project Access, and I met my goal. I was kind of getting high off my own supply a little bit. I was working with this artist who was going to work on Turn Samurai, and he brought some people in, and then, we had I had some disagreements with him. He left the book, and his friends who had like practically funded the project withdrew their funds after they had done it. $1,500 worth of funds. I was left with peanuts. I had to kind of scrape together stuff, and honestly, it's a miracle it came out. But I managed to do it, and it came together pretty well.
Nice. And now you're planning on doing the same thing for issue number 2? You're going to run the same Indiegogo Kickstarter for it?
Yeah, with issue 2, it went a lot smoother. So I hired an artist for Indiegogo for issue 1. She ended up doing about 17 pages, and then she had to leave due to mental health issues. It sucks, but what can you do?
Yeah.
Then I brought in this other artist to finish named Brian. I can't really pronounce his last name. He's from South America. Really great guy, and he's the one who's actually working on issue 2. Like, he finished issue 1, and then he's doing all of issue 2. So there is some continuity there. And honestly, it took a little bit longer than I was hoping for, but the art's really good. The artist was really easy to communicate with, and other than some delays, it went relatively smoothly.
Nice. So the second part of the show that I like to do is kind of like a brain picker. I know a lot of people who
Mm-hmm.
watch the show, including myself. We look for, or at least I look for, little tips and tricks on how to run a successful campaign. 'Cause
Okay.
I've met tons of artists who ran campaign that had a phenomenal book, great art, great story, but it just didn't quite get there. So if you don't mind, I want to pick your brain, ask you a few questions on the do's and do nots of running a successful crowdfunding campaign.
Well, I wouldn't claim to be some like crowdfunding guru.
Sure,
I've had some success, but I can share some stuff I've learned.
for sure.
Um, Basically, what's really important is what you do before the campaign.
Right.
So with this campaign, I've had the pre-launch page active 2 months before I even launch it, and I'm like spamming it, trying to get people to sign up for it, putting it out there. I mean, heck, this interview itself is a part of my grand plan. That's my Emperor Palpatine voice. Soon the Sith will rule the galaxy.
Pretty good, man. I like it.
Uh, I'm a master of impressions. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, if a pre-launch plan, getting it like if the first people are hearing about it is when you launch it, you're doing something wrong. That's really important. Getting engagement, and as far as building up an audience, yeah, the grind sucks, and I hate it, and I kind of engage with it on my own terms. Like,
Right.
When I first had my Twitter, I kind of ran it more like a corporate page, and it felt kind of hollow. Now I kind of run it as myself, but behind the corporate. So it's like I don't act exactly as myself, but I do kind of interact a little bit more personally, and it also helps, like, talk about other stuff. Like, for example, it's a comic book page, but I also talk about my video games. I talk about Power Rangers. I talk about stuff I like, because what's important is you got to get people to like you, got people to engage with the product, and whatnot. And
Right.
I've had some success. I'm currently sitting at like 320 something followers. Not too shabby.
Right.
You know, but yeah, just be personal, get people to like you. But like, what's really important is before the crowd fund.
Mhm.
Have a good lead up time, get people interested, talk about, podcasts are important, reviewers, and just honestly build everyone says kind of build up a platform. I
Right.
don't really do that myself because I'm trying to do comics. I'm not trying to like be a YouTuber, and I know I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot there a little bit. Like, I'll fully admit that, but it's just kind of like I don't want to spread myself too thin. But like, for other people who don't mind that, it actually is a good idea to start your own podcast, start your own YouTube channel, and like do your own content. So that way you have your own platform. I myself choose not to do it for various reasons, but I fully acknowledge that it's not a good idea.
Right. So a lot of the questions that I get, and I don't, people ask me these questions because I guess I have a show, but I mostly get most of my input and ideas from other people that I have on the show, which is why I ask these
Mm-hmm.
questions. The most common question is the chicken or the egg. A lot of people, they say run a Kickstarter or crowdfund. That's how you build your audience. Other people say no, build your audience first and then do the Kickstarter crowdfund. Which one would
Well,
you actually suggest?
so what I do is I like to have the book almost done or all the way done before I even do the campaign,
Right.
because people are more likely to support a campaign if it's done or
Yeah.
close to be done. It's kind of like a security thing. Like let's say how many Kickstarters, like, we have an idea, let's do this video game that we have an idea of, and they get like $20,000 and then the game never comes out,
Yeah.
versus like, hey, we have this video game and it's 80% done. We just need your money to help me get over that hill. And they have like trailers, video games, and it's so detailed. You can obviously see it's 80% done.
Mhm.
And those are the ones that get the money. And so me, with my comics, I prefer to have a comic book that's done, or at the very most, almost done. So people be like, okay, like, I want to be able to guarantee that if they back it, they'll get a comic, like 100% guarantee. And that kind of adds some security, and then people are more willing to back it. And honestly, it's kind of an ethical thing. I don't want to be that kind of, I don't want to be a crowdfund scammer. I don't want to be the kind of person where it's like, hey, you guys put your trust in me and I torched it. You know, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, it's kind of important that you want to kind of make sure the people who are supporting you and giving you money are happy. Otherwise,
it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street.
I think a lot of people, and myself included, they kind of run into that fear. Like, you know, what if these people are giving me their money and the book isn't living up to their expectations? You know, sometimes I think that's a lot of issues that most people have when it comes to that kind of things. And it's a big hump that people have to get over.
I mean, that's really with anything you put out into the ether.
Yeah.
The only really fear that I have is I promise to deliver a product, and my fear is not being able to deliver it. That's the only really thing I worry about.
Yep.
You know, if people get a product and they don't like it, it sucks, but there's nothing I could have done. Like, I put out the best product possible, and I did everything right on my end. I said I was going to deliver a product, and they ordered it based off of that. And I, you know, like it would be one thing, like for example, oh, but the book will be in all color, and then they get it and it's in black and white, and there was no notice of it. You know, like it'd be one thing. It'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, we're supposed to be in color. It's going to be in black and white. We're going to offer refunds. And if anyone doesn't, you know, that'd be one thing. That'd be like, you know, upfront about it, but just not tell anybody. Yeah, then you're kind of getting into scam territory. But other than like not delivering on your promises, I do my best, and I hope for the best.
And I think that's what all other creators, you know, you want to do your best. I would tell them, like, don't worry about what other people are going to think about the book. I mean, at the end of the day, you're a creator. You said you're going to do X. You need to do X. And if Y happens, I mean, what can you really do?
Because there's going to be people who, like, you know, you could put out the greatest comic book known to man. God himself could bless the comic book, and God himself could have wrote the comic book, and it could be the best comic book ever, and it will be, and there still be people who think it's the worst thing ever. You know?
Yeah.
But on the same token, one thing I feel is also very important is also to recognize constructive criticism when it comes, because it's very easy to say, oh, they're just haters, you know, but like sometimes, you know, I try to weed out like the obviously insulting ones, but like for me, if I hear like, oh, I don't like the way the character did X, and if I have like 15 people say relatively the same thing, then I'm like, okay, then it's probably like kind of a concern. Like you know, it's like one person saying it, I might not listen to, but if 15, 20 people or 1,000 people all say similar things, then it probably has some merit.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you kind of want to listen to what they have to say, because sometimes when people
they're paying your paychecks.
Yeah, exactly. And they can come up with an idea that you normally wouldn't have thought about. You might have the writer's block. You might thought you have broken through the writer's block with this idea, and then the fans say, hey, what if we had so-and-so do this? And you're like, why didn't I think of that? And he kind of gets the creative juices flowing again.
Yeah, it does.
I agree with that. That's
kind of reminds me of this one story. So Rod Serling, creator of the Twilight Zone, he was at a party one time, and this woman came up to him and said, what if there was a story where some astronauts thought they'd landed on Mars, but it was actually Earth? Rod Serling reached into his wallet and handed the woman $400. and that became the episode I Shot an Arrow into the Air. And that was the only time Rod Serling ever did that. You know, that's one of my favorite stories, because it's just like, holy crap, that's a good idea. I got to buy it, right? You know,
right. Just give her some money and be like, hey, and it's probably, I think that's one of the most classic episodes that's out there from the early 1960s Twilight Zone, I believe that was.
Yeah, I love that. I love that classic, Rod.
Yeah, old black and white, man. You can't beat it.
Yeah,
that always gives me, every time I hear that, I get the chills, because my grandfather used to watch that show all the time, and I'm like 3 and I'm hearing this weird eerie music at like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like,
there is a fifth dimension, not of sight and sound, but of mind.
Oh, it gives me the chills every time.
Yeah. So, imagine, if you will, you know.
Yeah. How long did it take you to actually write 2100 Samurai? And are you still currently writing the story, or is the story done and you're just focusing on putting it in?
It's kind of a complicated question because it's gone through like iterations. Like the original versions date back like 15 years. Like I originally wrote like the very earliest versions, which are garbage. I'm just gonna go out and say it right now. They're garbage.
That's what every creator, trust me.
To be fair, I was a teenager when I wrote it. But like the core, like if you like shoveled through a mile of crap, like there was kind of a nugget of a good idea, and I kind of just extracted it and went from there. And I did like initial kind of bursts of like 5 issues, and then like I've kind of rewritten them a bunch of times. I have the first 3 issues written. Issue 3 needs to be edited, and I have like earlier drafts of issues 4 and 5. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But as far as the time it takes me to write a script, like there's kind of like a pre-production process and then sitting down to actually write the script. Like normally I kind of let something bounce in my head for a few months, kind of letting things gestate a little bit. And then when I'm finally decided like, okay, this is viable, I'm going to do it. I create like an overview document, where it's like, this is this book, this is the characters, and then this is a breakdown of the first story arc. Because when I create a new comic, I always do the first story arc, all the issues for the story arc first. Because I've ran into problems in the past where it's like, I write a really good first issue and I'm like, I have no idea where to go from here. And the story kind of just sits on a shelf.
Yeah.
At least by the end of the first story arc, I at least kind of have an idea of where things are going.
Right. Makes sense.
So I do like outlines for each issue, and then usually when I actually sit down to write the issues, it roughly takes me about a week.
Yeah. That sounds about right for most creators. I'd say then I have a lot of writer's block because I'm just like you. Just like most creators, and probably just like you probably are trying to sort through not just one, but like maybe 3 or 4 different projects in your head. And
you should see my writing folder on my Dropbox. It's just so full. Like I got one project coming out in April that I'm doing, and then I got like 2 other series that like one of them I got one book that has like 5 issues written, another one that had 4 issues, and then I have like ideas for like other ones, and I have like these random one-off scripts for comic books that I want to develop them, but like I gotta reorient the story.
Yeah, it happens. I'm actually trying to write 4 different stories at the moment, and I get writer's block from one, and then I go ahead and I get an epiphany for another, and then I go back and forth.
That's a way of doing it. That's one way of doing it.
That's one way to get it done.
At least you're still being productive.
Trying to be as productive as possible. Sometimes I remember that I'm stuck on this part and I don't want to deal with it. But once you actually start breaking down what you kind of want to happen, it starts to that wall starts to come
yeah,
down.
With me, I'm just trying to keep myself to 2 projects at the moment, like kind of juggling between them. Just because I don't want to really overload my plate, and I don't want to do like 5 Indiegogos in a row that are just issue 1, issue 1, issue 1.
Yeah.
Like I got this project coming out in April to where Torrent Samurai is like a mature rated comic book, and that's fine. It sold well, but I recognize I need something that's more age appropriate, like a 13+ book.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what this one's going to be. And I'm going to kind of like leapfrog between them until I have a completed volume for each of them, do like a volume set, for them. And then once that's done, I'll probably introduce the 3rd project.
Plan. So we're coming to the end of our time together, unfortunately. I'm having a blast, but I used to do these interviews in the beginning. They used to run for about an hour and a half. So I've learned to kind of cut it down to about 20 to 30 minutes so people can actually watch it and not have to, oh my God, it's an hour and a half, and people's attention span these days are just
boring.
Yeah, exactly. So my last question, I asked it to all of my creators, for aspiring artists who are watching this listening to this podcast or watching this video. What is the one piece of advice you can give them to ensure that they can get started on their comic book?
The thing that I always say is write with passion, write well. Basically, write stuff that excites you, write stuff that I'm coming at this from a writer's perspective, obviously. Because honestly, if you're not excited for what you're writing, how can you expect the audience to be? If just the very thought of what you're writing doesn't fill you with like, oh my God, this is so cool, why even bother? You know, like if you aren't excited about your product, because in my opinion, when you're passionate about something, it shows up in your work. Like if you're passionate about what you're doing, if what you're doing excites you, then it'll be a better product in the end.
I agree. That was pretty good. You had that planned out. I know you did.
I've said it a few times, so
it works. I mean, if you're not passionate about it, then no one else is going to get fired up about it.
Exactly.
The current project I'm working on was shelved for 3 years because I couldn't figure out how to end it. And then one day I just pulled it off the shelf, looked at it, and I'm like, I know what I want to do now. And then I'm getting excited writing this, and now I'm about to release part 1 of that book. And I think
that's so cool.
I can't wait. I'm excited. So a lot of work to do, so little time, but for us creative minds, there's never really enough time in a day for us.
Yeah.
If we're going 24/7, and yeah, we wish we could just sit there and write from home all day. That'd be great, but we got to adult every once in a while. So
yeah, right. and I've always kind of I could talk, but I'll let you go.
Thank you for coming on, Nick. I really do appreciate it. Tell the audience where they can find you on social media.
Well, you can find me on my Twitter at Product Access 1. I also have a YouTube channel, The Phoenix Press. And April 8th, I'll be launching my issue 2 of Turn Samurai on Indiegogo. I'll send you the link so you can kind of like the pre-launches live, so you can sign to be notified, and also watch the awesome trailer done by Anime Sparkster.
Awesome. And I'll also link those social media links in the description. So anybody who wants to go ahead and follow Nick, you have the links down there. Just go ahead and make sure you subscribe to the channel because it helps me a lot. I've been building this channel for, I don't know, 2-3 years now. So I'm almost to that 1,000 subscriber mark. Almost.
Nice. That's a pretty important milestone.
Yeah, I'll get there one day. So
you will. You will.
Thank you, man. So thank you, Nick, for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Everyone, if you like this episode, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I'm going to be coming at you with another interview in about a couple of weeks with another creator. I try to do these as consistently as possible. So Nick, it was good talking to you, and everyone else, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. All right, guys. Thank you.